I'm Chris Lee of Southeastern 14. We continue our preview series of SEC baseball teams for the 2023 season. With me, a guy who's used to covering baseball late into the college baseball calendar. That's Andrew Hutchinson. He is the managing editor of bestofarkansassports.com. Andrew, thanks for joining us today.
Anytime. I always love talking baseball.
Yeah, likewise. I know we spent a lot of time texting during the season. We have a mutual love of SEC baseball, and of course, you cover one of the top programs in the country, one that ended its season in Omaha last year, and certainly seems to be in that conversation for this coming season.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the goal for Arkansas fans any year is to go to Omaha. And it kind of feels like the expectations are shifting to winning it all in Omaha because that's all they
Yeah.
haven't done. But I think at the minimum, Arkansas fans expect to be making that trip north. It's about a 6-hour drive from Fayetteville, so not too bad of a trip. Arkansas fans always represent really well up there, and it looks like they've got another opportunity to make a deep run if everything goes according to plan.
Well, they lost a lot of guys from the lineup last year, but they get some guys familiar. Brady Slavens, who seems like he's been there forever. They've got Peyton Stovall, who really ended last year on a tear, if I remember correctly. Transfers always Arkansas always does well in the transfer market, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And they've real built the lineup this year. How's it looking in terms of the hitting?
Yeah, I mean, you've only got two returning starters from last year. You mentioned Peyton Stovall and Brady Slavens. Those are going to be your main guys that people recognize outside of Arkansas because they've been here. Peyton Stovall was a freshman last year, came on strong down the stretch. Those two guys are going to be right in the thick of things. Brady Slavens, he's battled some injuries throughout his career. Late, so he's been here. This is going to be his third year at Arkansas. He was a JUCO transfer who began his career at Wichita State. And he got hurt late in 2021. That was a key injury in that 2021 season that they were number one and came up short, didn't make it to Omaha. And then he battled an arm injury or elbow injury that we didn't really know about until the offseason when all of a sudden, boom, he posted a picture from a hospital bed because he got surgery. But he's healthy and he seems to be better than ever based on all the reports that we've heard. Mentally, he's a guy that, he gets down on himself really hard, and I think he's doing better about that this year. He's kind of fallen in love with the game again. So if you can get a refreshed Brady Slavens in the middle of that lineup, that's huge. But the rest of the guys are going to be newer guys. There's a couple of returners that were bench guys last year. Jace Borfin is going to be a corner outfielder for the Razorbacks. He was a transfer from Oklahoma, former heralded recruit, and he played some last year early, got hurt. Someone else beat him out, and then he pretty much was on the bench most of the year. He's a guy that they expect big things out of. Had a really good year in the Cape Cod League. Kendall Diggs was another guy last year as a freshman. Had some flashes, hit a walk-off bomb against Ole Miss. He's a guy that I think is going to find his way into the lineup somehow, some way, whether that's in the field or as a DH. Then the other guys are all going to be kind of transfers. I mean, you've got a guy named Caleb Cali, who began his career at Florida State, went to a couple of different JUCOs, and now he's at Arkansas. And he might be the best hitter on the team based on what we've seen in the fall and in the preseason. In 4 public scrimmages so far in the preseason, the last couple of weekends, he's had multiple hits in each one of them, including a 3-for-3 day on Monday when I went and saw him play. And they aren't cheap hits, let me say that. He had a couple of doubles, had a home run the other day. Just seems to really be hitting the ball hard. That's the name that I say is the one you should probably watch is Caleb Cali. I think he has all SEC potential. It looks like he's going to play third base based on these preseason scrimmages. Back in the fall, I thought he was going to be the DH, but he's going to be in the lineup because of his bat. So they're looking pretty good. Then another name I would say is to watch is Tavian Josenberger, the center fielder, transfer from Kansas, guy that played. He was really, really good as a freshman. 2 years ago. Last year, he battled some injuries, didn't play as well as he did the year before, but was still a solid player. Hit like a 280 batting average, something like that. He had well over 300 as a freshman. He's fully healthy now, and he looks like a prototypical leadoff guy. He has good speed. He can steal a base for you. He has some good power. He's also a good on base guy. He'll battle you. So just you think of a leadoff hitter, that's Tavian Josenberger. So those are Tavian Josenberger and Caleb Cali are two guys that I would say are, as far as the newcomers, are guys you definitely want to know for Arkansas's lineup.
Arkansas has just locked it up defensively down the middle the last few years. You got Battles and Robert Moore, I think, are both playing professionally now. Michael Turner has gone behind the plate. You've had some really stellar center field defense there. What does it look like defensively for the Hogs this year?
Well, it's not going to be as good as last year. That's not necessarily a knock
No,
on this year's team.
but what
Because
is, right?
last year, I mean, it may have been the best defensive, especially in the infield, best defensive infield Dave Van Horn has ever had. Maybe one of the best in school history, to be quite honest. Because you also had Caden Wallace at third base and Peyton Stovall,
Yeah.
who's
Oh, yeah.
a true second baseman, was playing first. And it was just an incredible, incredible infield, especially up the middle, as you said, with Battles and Moore. Those guys are gone. Peyton Stovall is still here. He's moved over to his more natural position at second. He's a solid second baseman. Really, I mean, I would say above average as well. Just probably not as good as Robert Moore, who I think won the Gold Glove as a second baseman in college baseball. Shortstop is probably one of the few remaining position battles we're seeing. Kind of a surprise. Harold Cole was a heralded JUCO guy, former top 100 recruit. I believe he signed with North Carolina out of high school. Went to San Jack, a JUCO powerhouse. Was a guy I was concerned might not even make it to campus because the MLB draft, but he did. And I kind of just penciled him in as like, this guy's going to start. Well, then along comes this guy named John Bolton, a guy who's probably no one has ever heard of, transfer from Austin Peay. And the dude has just been very steady and consistent. I think the ceiling is by far higher for a guy like Harold Cole, without a doubt. I mean, he's a guy that has pro potential. He's just been a little bit inconsistent. He's a better offensive option. Dave Van Horn places a really large priority on defense at shortstop, and he probably has a higher ceiling defensively as well, but he just is a little inconsistent, doesn't make every play, whereas John Bolton just goes out there, and if it's a routine play, he's going to make it. He may not make the spectacular play that we saw so many times with Jalen Battles or like even Harold Cole is capable of, but he's a guy that is capable of that. I'm not sure if I think John Bolton's going to start opening weekends in Arlington at shortstop. Is he going to be the starter by the time SEC play rolls around? I'm not sure. Is he going to be the starter midway through the SEC season? I'm not sure. But he seems to be a lot better than anybody gave him credit for, because he didn't exactly tear it up at Austin Peay, and making the jump from Austin Peay to the SEC is significant, to say the least. So it's going to be a step back defensively up the middle, but I don't think it's going to be a dramatic fall off. And then of course at catcher, they've got a guy named Hudson Polk, seems to be the guy the front runner to be the starter. He's a transfer from Oklahoma. And he's not as good as a Michael Turner, not as good as a Casey Opitz before that. But I think he's solid. He's not going to have a ton of pass balls. He's probably not going to throw out every potential base loader, but he's going to be good enough to make teams second guess, to not just run crazy on them. So they're going to be solid. They're not going to be as good as last year, though, to say the least, because last year was just so incredible.
Yeah, it really was. Pitching felt like pitching really came on for the Hogs down the stretch last year, and some of those guys are gone. Connor Nolan, who was amazing for them, is gone, but Jax Wiggins, Hagen Smith, excuse me, who was one of the best freshman pitchers, one of the best freshmen probably in the league, period, a year ago. Will McIntyre, who was so good late in the season. Brady Tigert emerged as a closer and was fairly dependable for them from what I remember. Zach Morris is back, I believe, correct?
Yep.
He's been there a while. You got a lot of arms to build around in that rotation, it seems like.
Dave Van Horn has said on the record that this is the deepest pitching staff he's ever had. And that is saying something, because he has had some really good pitching staffs through the years. This is, I believe, his 21st or 22nd season as Arkansas's head coach. So that is a pretty high compliment. And I honestly agree with them. It is just so deep, because you've got all those guys coming back. As you said, you also add some key guys from the JUCO ranks, Hunter Holland is a lefty from Sanjak and was their ace. That guy is a stud. He's the guy that's I think I've already seen him on some like top 100 draft lists, maybe on
Oh,
MLB
goodness.
Pipeline or something. So he's a stud. He's going to be very good. Don't know what role he's going to have, but he's going to pitch a lot of innings for Arkansas. They also add Cody Adcock. That may be a name some fans remember because he originally signed
JUCO.
with he went to Ole Miss for a year, actually pitched against the Razorbacks in the SEC tournament in 21, and then went JUCO last year, and then now came to Arkansas. He's from Texarkana, Arkansas, so kind of an in-state kid coming back. He has been probably a surprising addition because he didn't put up really good numbers at Ole Miss or at the JUCO level. Always had good stuff, but he's kind of put it together, and they count on. They're expecting him to have a big role on this year's team as well. And then they added Cody Frank, a transfer portal addition from Nebraska, who has had some really solid numbers at Nebraska in the Big Ten. He's a guy that they think could. He's a righty. Adcock is a righty. They think is going to contribute for them, as well as all those returning guys that you mentioned. Although I do have to mention, as of right now, we're recording this on Tuesday, February 7th, Jackson Wiggins did not pitch this weekend because of soreness. That's all we've been told. We keeping an eye on it, holding your breath, because Jackson Wiggins has struggled at times over the last couple of years, but he's also flashed. And this fall, he looks like a bona fide SEC ace. I thought he was going to be the Friday night guy, and he may still be. Maybe it truly is soreness and not a big deal. But anytime you hear that thrown around this close to the season, makes you hold your breath and worried a little bit. So we'll see how that plays out. I mean, he was the guy that we thought was going to be in the rotation. Will McIntyre looks like he's going to be in the rotation. Not an overpowering guy by any means, but the dude can just pitch. He pitches to contact. He's going to eat up innings, have some quick innings for Arkansas. And then Hagen Smith is going to be in the rotation as well. I fully expect him to be even better than he was last year as a true freshman, be better this year. And then Hunter Holland, I expect to maybe slide into that starting rotation while we wait to see kind of how Jackson Wiggins' health progresses.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Wiggins next anyway, because in fact, I remember texting you a few times. I would watch him pitch at times, and like if you just dropped in on a good day for the first 3 or 4 innings of some of his starts, he looked like a top 10 pick in the draft guy. And sometimes it would just fall apart. Maybe some nights he never had it to begin with. You see him pitch a lot more than I do, but did not know about the injury or the health situation until you told me just now. But I was going to say, let's paint an optimistic picture for him. Let's say he's okay. What kind of pitcher does he give Arkansas this year?
He's an all SEC caliber guy, a first round arm. Yeah. I mean, he's a guy that coming out of high school, they knew he could throw hard. I mean, he's 6'6", was stupid athleticism. I mean, just go look up his basketball highlights from high school. It's incredible. And he throws 99. He could touch 100. But he just never had the consistency with the breaking stuff, the off-speed stuff. Could never really land it enough to keep guys off the fastball. I mean, if you want to see what happens whenever teams are sitting on his fastball, go look up Game 2 of the Tennessee series in 2021. He gave up a walk-off bomb in Knoxville, and it was a bomb. But he also, when he's on. His debut was in the College Baseball Classic in Arlington in 2021. And they didn't use him until the third day. They're pitching him against TCU, a top 10 team. He goes out there like in the 6th or 7th inning and strikes out the side. And Jim Schlossnagle, after the game, was just like, this is their 12th guy out of the bullpen, and he's coming in there pumping 97, 98 and strikes out the side. Like, what is this? And he wasn't really the 12th guy out of the bullpen. They just hadn't used him until that point. He was a freshman. And that kind of just paints the picture of his potential. This fall, he has actually started. He has a really good breaking ball, and it's really affected Arkansas's hitters. He was virtually unhittable in the fall. He had like 22 strikeouts in 12 innings that we saw in the open scrimmages. The opponents didn't hit him hardly. He had like a 111 batting average against. Just really, really good, and just he looks the part. He looks comfortable, and I think, honestly, if he's healthy, I think he could be a Friday night guy for Arkansas.
Well, let's hope he is. Andrew, that team's going to be tested, man. They open up Texas, TCU, Oklahoma State the first weekend, Wright State the third weekend. That's never an easy series. Usually, Louisiana Tech has been good sometimes. Boy, then they get to conference play. They avoid Florida, Kentucky, Missouri. So take what's left. I mean, that is. I don't know that any team in the league got a tougher SEC. Look, not that those teams that they're not playing, especially Florida, are easy wins. Nobody is, but I mean, my goodness, you look at that schedule. I don't know that anybody got a tougher draw in the league this year.
Yeah, I mean, at least Tennessee is coming to Fayetteville. That's a positive.
Yeah,
Which that is going to
that
be.
will be interesting. Yeah.
That'll be maybe the. I mean, I hate to sound like a homer or anything, but that might be one of the SEC series of the season, because it's Tony Vitello.
There's some bad blood there, isn't there?
Yeah, Vitello versus Van Horn. The fans hate each other. It's going to be a fantastic weekend of baseball. I literally cannot wait. But they have to go to Baton Rouge. They have to go to Starkville. They have to go to Oxford. So it's not easy. It's not easy at all. It's going to be very, very challenging. And as you said, I mean, the non-conference schedule is a lot better, and that's by design. Last year,
that hurt him a year ago.
It really hurt him in the RPI, and that's something Van Horn kind of took to heart. And he told us he was going to fix it, and by golly, he did it. Got Louisiana Tech coming into town. He's really excited about the midweek series they've got against UNLV. That's a quality mid-major team. Wright State, as you said, that opening weekend in Arlington is going to be really, really tough. So RPI, if they win games, if they go, I can't even remember what they went last year, 18-12 or something in SEC play. If they do that again, they're not going to be left out of the hosting picture. No, they're going to have a really good RPI. Seed. Absolutely.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Well, Hutch, thank you so much for joining us. Tell folks where they can find your work.
Yeah, you can find it all on bestofarkansassports.com. The good news is that it's a 100% free site. It's no subscription, no paywall. So if you want to find out more about the Razorbacks, I've got a full breakdown of my lineup projection, projected pitching, all that good stuff. You can find that over at Best of Arkansas Sports. And also on Twitter, you can follow me at NWA Hutch.
Yeah, you're one of my favorite guys in the business. You're great at what you do, and really appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
All right, we're going to preview every single SEC team this year. Sometimes it's a head coach doing it. Sometimes it's a beat writer. Sometimes you're stuck with us. But wherever your team is, we're going to preview them for the coming baseball season. Best way to catch that, hit that subscribe button. And if you like this, hit the like button. That helps us too. He's Andrew Hutchinson. I'm Chris Lee. Thanks for watching us here at Southeastern 14.